So I initially put this talk together for the lightning talk session we had a couple months back, and it turns out there wasn't quite enough slots, so I didn't get to the part of putting it together where I shortened it to 7 minutes, so we'll see how many minutes it goes for here. It's sort of a small concept, so hopefully, but you know, the intention is to be useful, so hopefully it's useful to somebody here in their normal day-to-day lives. So test-driven Regex is my topic. As Paul mentioned, mobile developer at Regex. That's my Twitter. Okay, so what is Regex? Regular expressions. I think most people are probably familiar. I guess we could do a show of hands. How many people know what regular expressions are? Pretty much everybody. Okay, so it starts off really simple. I will admit I use regular expressions quite a bit in the first, I don't know, 5 or 8 years. So I've been using it for a significant amount of time, on and off. And then in an interview, I actually bumped into somebody who used the grouping very interestingly, and I hadn't even seen that before. So it's possible for simple concepts to have a lot of depth to them. And regular expressions are probably one of those. Here's just some simple notations to start off. Question mark means whatever it's referring to, match 1 or none times. Plus is 1 or more. Star is 0 or more. And then if you put in those little curly braces, it repeats however many times you put in there. So we'll go to the next here. Now, I think everyone, when they first start using regular expressions, gets kind of excited. And you know, you can do a lot of things with this. You can parse files, you can like pull out data, you could validate things in forms, which I actually, since agreeing to do this talk, ran into. There was a form validation problem with regular expressions, so I was just using them yesterday. Now, there's a fun quote here, and I tracked it down. It turns out this guy is an early Netscape engineer, Jamie Zawinski. Some people, when confronted with a problem, think, I know, I'll use regular expressions. Now they have 2 problems. So I've heard that many times with regular expressions, and it's kind of true. We'll see on the next slide. But it turns out he actually copied that from sed and awk and just changed the regular expressions part of it. So you shouldn't get the whole credit. Anyway, so we'll give maybe like 30 seconds, see if anyone can come up with what in the middle of there. It's like, I don't know how many characters, maybe like 10 or 11 characters here. Does anyone know what that regular expression might be for? I see Steve working on it.
Just type it in.
Yeah, there's a 2 in there. There's some escaping, which gets fun in Java. Java usually has the double escaping in strings. And I think, let's see, question mark is optional. These are like grouping. I'll give a quick preview of kind of more of the syntax than we had just on a simple slide. Of course, this is the Java documentation for the Java regular expressions. There's a lot of interesting, useful stuff. You can match carriage returns. You can match various types of characters. Yeah, I think every time I open this page, I see something new. I don't know what this and thing is. I guess you can match A to Z and particular characters. I don't know why that would be different than just matching D, E, F, but like I said, there's always complications. So you can see there's a fair amount of stuff, but it is also finite. I think this is about the end here. No, there's more details. Let's go back to the simpler example. We got his presentation mode. Let's go back. Okay, so of course, what do software developers do when they have a problem? Write software. And there's cool tools that can help you with regular expressions. So this is an example where you can put in your regular expression, put in your test, and it'll parse it for you so you can see, which I think was Paul's suggestion. Just type it in. Oh wow, the colors don't work very well here, but this particular regular expression, when you type it in there, you put some text in, it highlights the spaces in between sentences. So this is a period, then it wants two spaces, I guess, here, and then,
It should be 2 to many.
I'm sorry?
I think 2 to many, like there's no number after it, so there's no up or down.
Yeah, I'd have to test that, which will be on the next slide here. But yeah, you can see, well, maybe you can't see, but you'll have to trust me. These are highlighted in green, and if you're on the website and on a regular LCD, or maybe I'll turn this one around, it's a little darker. See, it's pretty dark. It's smaller, but there's green in there.
The eye test.
It's always, I always love that when the display turns out to kill the punchline. But it's okay. So, I actually didn't, okay, let's see. Yeah, okay, we'll get it here. So phone number parsing sounds like a simple enough example, I think, to deal with in 7 minutes. Or are we already over 7 minutes? Good thing we're not doing it.
That's okay. Keep going.
You know, why would there be 937 options, though, for phone number parsing on this Regex live site? And you can see it starts off, this one's fairly short, matches here, doesn't match those guys. Doesn't match this one, interestingly, but that's why people do longer ones. Okay, now you're getting a little bit longer. And I don't think anyone got the two space detectors, so you can imagine if you came across this in your code, which there's plenty of jokes about Perl, by the way, because it's very regular expressions heavy. And there's a fair amount of Perl code that I think looks like this. And if you come back to this a couple weeks later, or it's your coworker's code, it's going to be pretty tough to figure out if there's a bug in it. Which, as I mentioned in Java, one I had come across before. Okay, here's a dot. If you have a dot here, dot matches any one character. If you escape it, so in Java, double backslash, that means it matches the period. So a bug I came across before was in the midst of a long string, like one of these guys, it wasn't, it was supposed to match the period, but it wasn't escaped, so it was matching anything, and that just throws off the whole scenario. So for this test, my question is, what can we do to make this better? How can we write readable and maintainable regular expressions? And I have a sample project. We'll go to that now. Okay, we will. No shortcut on presentation mode, I don't know. That seems like it would have been a good one. Okay. So, how many people, show of hands, are familiar with test-driven development? Not quite as many as regular expressions, but quite a few. So, the idea with test-driven development is you'll write the test first, which is what this is, and then you write the implementing code after that. They're both here at the same time, so you can't really verify that I wrote one first. But trust me. I will run it. This is a very simple test. It basically just says, assert that you have your phone number matcher. You know, if you give it an input and you say it's valid, it's going to return true. And so that's kind of the first point here along the path to readable regular expressions is, if you're using it for a particular purpose, maybe don't use the regular expression interface. It's a little bit too wide open. So right here we have our own interface, which is our phone number matcher class that encapsulates the regular expressions. You know, if you could call this as a client, and you don't have to know that it's implemented using regular expressions. Of course, that's not the case. We want to fix problems and expand it, so we're going to be in the internals. So this guy matches, the test passed, so it means that it works for this one particular phone number, and you can see I have /Ds here, so it should work for any numbers in this format. Of course, phone numbers get more complicated. So if we want to add in, we want to add in the parentheses. I think you can do that without a dash. We'll run that again, and we should see it fail. And the idea with test-driven development is you do red-green refactor. So that's kind of your loop. And there's the happy red. So our next case doesn't work. And since this was aiming for 7 minutes, I have kind of the code.
When that says regex in there, is that something that IntelliJ's put in there?
Yeah, IntelliJ is doing the argument, so yeah, the dot matches for a string, the argument is called regex in the GK or whatever, so it puts it in there. It has different, nope, looks like that's the only one that matches. Strange. See? Well, whatever. Let's see. Region matches? Yeah, it looks like that's it for matches. Anyway. Get used to my mouse again. So the first, I mean, can anyone think of the easy way? What would you do here to make this work? Just like add in the parens, right? And the question mark is the zero or many. Oh my God. So I think I need to also escape here because parentheses also have meaning in regular expressions, but I want to actually match the parentheses. So okay, it's a little bit longer. I don't know why that's red there. We'll find out. Oh, I guess because it failed previously, I bet. That's why it's red up there. Okay, so it passes again. The next thing here, so after we have, so that was red, green, and then we've got a refactor. I'm going to cheat a little bit. Let's see if that, okay, there we go. So the thought here is to kind of break up the regular expression somewhat, where it's not it's not a single string anymore. So we've got 3 digits, matching 3 digits is just /D/D/D. 4 digits is same thing with 4. Area code is our optional parenthesis with 3 digits. And kind of, I mean, for this thought, this is not the important part of this, but the concept is really just to do something different than just having one long string to break it up a little bit. So, I mean, if you're programming it, you know, you define your own readability. For me, I think a regular expression of about this length is about where it starts to get the limits of easy readability. So we'll see, I'll try to keep it under that. We should run the test again and make sure it passes. Okay. And the next step, when I was working with this code, was to see that there's some duplication here. So I was still refactoring. So the thought is that there's duplication between 3 digits and 4 digits here. I think I'm going to cheat again on it. Well, let's not cheat. I'll type it. So I'll extract method. I'm just going to call it digits. And I'm going to pass in an argument of the number of digits. Something happened between turning this way and that way. I thought it was rename the argument, but it doesn't seem like it did. Okay, so then in order to implement that, or I mean, the idea is I wanted to reduce duplication here, so let me just replace this. And then we can get a failing test. This assert true, or the first assert true, I guess, didn't come back as valid. Is that what, it doesn't, I think I've zoomed in so much it's hard to see what the actual failure is here, but you can imagine that's going to fail because the 4 digits is still just matching 3. So if I do something with the argument,
So what's a repeat?
yeah, so those brackets you can repeat. And we can't put 3 in there, but if we put appear to have auto formatting turned on, which I usually do. Okay, so this should work. Yes. And then you can see, I mean, the amount of regular expression is valid method. It's kind of like not even really there anymore. It's just normal code, 3 digits, 4 digits area code. And so now, pulse tweet on my watch. It's 7:34.
You got plenty of time.
Okay, so my next thought here is kind of like supporting country code.
Excuse me. Can you make it, it's possible to make it larger?
Larger? Okay. Let's see. I think I need 2 hands. That one's a little larger. I don't know if we'll be able to fit much more on screen, but we'll see. All right, so I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. This one's kind of fun. So I did country code, but it's really just more of the same. See if I can bring this up on screen easily. Should practice one-handed typing, I guess, for meetings.
Maybe just speak loudly and it'll be fine.
Of course, this view is not going to be large, though. Oh, that's a little better. Okay, so I think maybe some people can see anyway that the just kind of stepping through that process, right green refactor, adding in tests, and also I created a convenience method here because I want my tests to be readable also. So this assert true, and then this guy is right here, so it's not far away. It's easy to see. I mean, single character methods depends on, like I said, if you're the developer, you have your own definition of readability. In this case, I thought this was looking too long, so I wanted to shorten it here and added in +1 in a variety of different formats, and 1 with no plus, the O1. I mean, and of course, you could start going into like different countries, area code 61 for Australia, whatever your favorite country is. And so else, well, I'm just going to skip to getting it passing there. Okay, so you can see there's another line here for country code. There's some, there's a plus, there's a group here. Basically, this is at that same limit I was talking about before. I would want to break this up if it starts to get more complicated. Because when you start looking at it for a regular expression, it's going to take you a lot longer than normal code to parse through it. So we've added in country code. Now someone, our boss comes in and says, let's, I want to give you a phone number and then pull out the area code because I want to do something with the area code. Validate whether it's long distance or not. I guess they don't really have long distance anymore, but once upon a time there used to be long distance. So, let's look back. Oh, here's the get area code. Oh, I skipped through the implementation for area code. Sorry, let's go back one.
And next month, Stanley will give a Git repo and branching strategy for demos.
I do recommend this source tree tool. This is a free tool from Atlassian. It's probably a little bit small to see, but you get your what do they call it? The branch view, basically, where you can see the branches right here, and you can graphically do most of the things you want to do. So for a free tool, it's pretty useful. I also consider myself, so that Twitter handle, if you ever want to use it, if you're doing open source contribution and you have any issues with Git, feel free to grab me, because I'm happy to help out with Git on open source contributions. If it's your job, you know, maybe I'll charge some. At least lunch. So for the area code test, we've got a test here, you know, for this number, and I just started off, since we've gotten to the complication level where we want, you know, these variety of different formats, I just kind of grabbed the variety of formats and had different area codes, and then say assert that we get those area codes back from our get area code method, which doesn't exist yet. Look back at the implementation. I mean, I don't know, let's pause for a second. Is anybody, so I guess we did show of hands for two things so far. Let's do show of hands. Anyone think this might be useful in their future coding endeavors? Okay, that's pretty good. That's about as similar to the second question. Let's see, is there anything that interesting in this? Yeah, I guess the most interesting part here is, let's see, we'll code through it for a little bit because we technically have 8 minutes. I don't know if I can keep it quite this large though. Let's see. Let's create the get area code method. All right, we've got it here. Now the problem is that our is valid. I'm gonna make this bigger, right? Presentation don't do that. No.
There you go.
So the problem is that our regular expression is encapsulated in our is valid method. Now we have a completely different method, get area code. So really, this is like a refactoring that we need to move our area code, or sorry, our regular expression outside of is valid and be able to use it in multiple places. I'm gonna set down the mic. So at this point, you might have to go back to the documentation and see what you can do to create a regular expression. Instead of just using the matches method, you want to create a regular expression that uses this, which I'm going to cheat a little bit. So there's pattern. We could go back to that web page, but I already have some info here. So cheat code is matcher and pattern are the two interesting classes there. So I want to create a matcher. They're all red. So now, that's what I use my regex, I'll move it over. Well, this doesn't seem like the most exciting. This code is up there on GitHub, so if anyone does want to refer to it, feel free. I'm just going to jump to the end result. So in the constructor, we create a regex string, and we use that in the matcher. And then for is valid, it's just matcher.matches. For the get area code, we've got matcher.find, and we get the group out. And you can see area code has the escaped parentheses, which of course are parentheses, and then it has a group, which is unescaped parentheses, to capture the 3 digits that are the area code. Any questions?
So the matcher has a function that will pull out the regex for a specific group.
Yeah, so the matcher.group. So the first set of tests, the first like however many commits along there, we're just using this matches. Does it match or not? And then from there, and this was kind of the thing I found in the interview after I've been using regular expressions for matching quite a bit, is that it's pretty useful to be able to pull out groups from things. So yeah, the groups work kind of funny. Like I think group 0 is the whole, everything that matches, then group 1 is your first parenthesis, and group 2 is the second one. So I guess we must have had 2 parentheses in here. Yeah, it looks like country code is also captured. So group 1 would be country code, group 2 is, and then you can put groups around things. You can imagine though, if you had a regular expression that's this long and then you started to group it around things, it's going to make it this long. So I feel that breaking it up into different strings is pretty useful. Any other?
How does it group work? Can you give some kind of way to group it? How does it know that the group, in your case, is like a country code is the first group?
Yeah, because it's all working
By
off
order
this.
or some other mechanism?
I'm sorry, I missed that last part.
The grouping is it by order or what is?
Yeah, it's the order, so it's tracking like however you open the parentheses and close them, and the first match is 0 group, and then if you open it, I think that's number 1, and I think you can have them open inside of each other. So I think each time there's a new open parenthesis, it will increment a new group. Any other questions? Break for another piece of pizza?
Yeah, okay. Thanks,
Cool.
Stanley.